advancing the level of technology is important, but at the same time, utilizing the level of technology that we already have is also important. But due to lack of investments, and even though the investment size may be big in terms of the whole green investments, I'm not sure if the right amount of investment is put in the commercialization of these already available technologies.
Why don't you tell us more about yourself? Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently working as a consultant at GGGI, Global Green Growth Institute, and I've been working on the Climate Technopreneurship Fund that is going to be a project by KDB, and we're in collaboration with KDB and other consortium partners, and we are currently in the process of submitting the funding proposal to GCF to get the GCF funding for our project.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. And I was wondering, what do you personally do at GGI? How does the usual activity look like? What is the real and measurable impact it has on environment? Because I can guess that a lot of students like me or people that are interested in environment look at those big corporations or funds and still don't know what they really do. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So I think the work depends a lot on the departments, and the department that I'm currently in right now is focused on implementation. So we are actually leading a lot of projects in various countries, mostly least developed countries, that aim to really push for their own environmental goals. We call them NDCs, and we try to carry out those projects and facilitate the implementation. But on the other hand, there are also departments where it's also focused on other aspects of environmental work. Before this task, I used to work in the actually something very related to what you asked about, which is measuring impacts. So I was involved in data and modeling. I was building simulation tools to predict the future CO2 and non-CO2 emissions in the transport sector. So yeah, I guess the work that we do is it varies a lot across departments.
So how does a usual project look like? What are the main components? How do you approach the problem? Because I think that when it comes to environmental issues, it's usually big words, for example, deforestation or something like this. How do you break that down into a project that aims to address this issue?
Right, we are in a lot of talks with government counterparts, and they give us a lot of suggestions on what direction they want to take. And of course, because we value country ownership, we don't want to just intervene in the countries and do it as we want to, right? We want to hear very thoroughly and sincerely of what is really needed in those individual countries. So that's why the project could range from waste management facility projects to fighting against deforestation. So I think the main part of project management or project implementation is, I guess, financing. And we work a lot with GCF, Global Climate Fund, as well, which provides and funds a lot of these climate-related projects. We, from my knowledge, we also work a lot with KOICA as well, and other international organizations or funds. And also the Korean government also issued a New Deal fund for green projects. So it's called Green New Deal. And just like this is just one example. There are other government financing that supports GGGI's projects as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I can imagine that a country comes to you with a problem and asks you, please solve it for me.
Right. It's, I guess, we're not a consultancy, but yes, we are in like close collaboration, and yeah, we're working together with the government and also like related organizations.
That's very interesting. So the next question I want to ask you is a very big one, and it's okay, it can be very subjective, but I was wondering, in your opinion, how much green energy is needed in order to prevent the world from deterioration, and how to achieve it in a sustainable and feasible way? Is it even possible? Because lately a lot of companies bring up the environmental issues in a lot of countries, but is there a way to actually achieve that? Because aside of working globally on it, I see that very often countries try to bring that in the country, but do not think globally. How do you think this could be achieved in the future?
So, have you seen the movie Don't Look Up on Netflix?
Yes, yes, it's a very popular one.
Yes, it's actually very related to, I guess, what we are discussing, not just us two, but also the whole world about climate change. I think people really like they focus on the question, can it be done, a lot, but at the same time, as the movie suggests, it's something that we also need to do, because we, this is our planet, right, that we're trying to save. But yeah, to go to the key points, I think the most important thing is that we have limited time, and that doing this sort of massive global project, which is AKA trying to save the planet, is gonna take a lot of resources and time and energy. But because this is like such an imminent matter that's gonna affect all of us, I think the question that we need to ask is not whether or not it can be done, but how can we like approach it? How can we really improve this in the limited given time that we have? According to IPCC, so limiting the total cumulative global anthropogenic emissions of CO2 since should be reverted back to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And this is not just any like political claim, but this is actually a scientific argument made by IPCC. And if we don't reach this state by 2050, then we're gonna pass the tipping point, which means that we're gonna all go into the state of irreversible state. So we cannot go back and like have the planet and the global temperature as it was before. So to achieve this, from my perspective, because I'm also working a lot with tech firms, not like IT firms, but climate technology firms. I think investment in technology is so important, and that's why we need to not only support companies with like big companies with climate technology, but also startups and SMEs as well, that start in like local communities. And when we say we invest in technology, creating new technologies is important, but because of this limited time, I think we also need to really shift our focus to the already available technologies and the ones that can be commercialized right away. So we're not like, advancing the level of technology is important, but at the same time, utilizing the level of technology that we already have is also important. But due to lack of investment, and even though the investment size may be big, in terms of the whole green investments, I'm not sure if the right amount of investment is put in the commercialization of these already available technologies. And yeah, I think that's really one of the key ways that we can take to really tackle climate change.
I like how you said that it's about time and that we have to do everything possible because this is the time that is limited, not the possibilities. Because very often when I talk with people who are skeptical for the whole environmental movement, they say that human impact is only a drop in an ocean of the environmental processes, that it's mostly the nature doing its own part and going through cycles. But every time I hear this argument, I constantly think that what if this is this one drop that is too much? What if this is this one drop that is one drop more to switch it all? So I really like how you brought that up, because this is something that is very often neglected, that even though human impact can be just part of the whole process, it can be this significant part. That is very interesting. Thank you so much. And I was wondering, have you met with the problem of deforestation? What are the ways to prevent defraudation and transparency for the case of crowdfunding? Because I think this is one of the most popular problems that are tackled by a lot of crowdfunding and just various social actions. Could you tell us about this?
This was actually a question that I got confused, because there was deforestation and then defraudation, but I guess the question was about defraudation and crowdfunding.
Yes.
Right. I think I'm not exactly sure if I'm the right person to be asked this question, because I haven't really worked a lot with crowdfunding. But I guess you're asking this question from the perspective of the people who are interested in venture capital, right? Okay, so I think not just crowdfunding, but funding itself, especially for green projects. I think I think ESG investment is such a big hit right now. Like everyone is talking about ESG. It's like a hot keyword that everyone's so interested in. And I think that's great how everyone is actually starting to pay attention to this. But not just crowdfunding, but in terms of crowdfunding and funding itself for green projects and ESG investments, from my perspective, there is some level of greenwashing going on. That means, are you just using this as a justification for your business to be more successful by putting the green label on and saying that this investment is actually for the environment, or is it really contributing to mitigating the impacts and the emissions? I think that's a question of transparency as well. It's not as far not as serious as defraudation, but on some point it's also very serious. I know that some coal plant companies even consider themselves as ESG companies, because they claim that their methods of producing coal is they do it in an energy efficient way. And I yeah, I'm not sure if this would be categorized as defraudation. It does not. But what I'm saying is transparency is so important, and ESG rating is all great, but I think we need to make sure if this ESG and like green climate funding is done really for the environment or only to enhance profits of some companies. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I think this is a big problem nowadays because more and more, as you said, more and more people are paying attention, especially customers when they buy products. I've noticed that more and more of my friends pay attention to whether this company takes into account the environmental impact and all that. So I think that it can be a problem that a lot of companies are using it as a greenwashing technique. So I
Right.
absolutely agree with you. Okay, I think that's it. I thank you so much because it was a very insightful talk. I learned a lot, and I hope that people that will watch you and listen to you later on will also. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you.